Oh man, do we have the show for you today. 1936 Pierce Arrow, when luxury meant something totally different than what it means today. But before getting into all of it, I'm your host Jay. Welcome to What It's Like, the automotive channel that shows you cars like you've never seen them before. We dive in deep with history, specs, design, super detailed slow motion walk around at the end of each episode. I also sprinkle in engine episodes as well as company histories. And I'm not trying to blab or anything, but if this is your first time ever checking out the channel, this is our 739th episode. So that means if you like this episode, there are 738 just like it. I tried to separate things into different playlists, so if you wanted to go to, say, Packard, we've done 31 episodes on different Packards. There's a playlist for company histories as well as engine episodes as well. If any of that sounds of interest to you, subscribe and hit the bell icon next to it to never miss a video. 1936 Pierce Arrow model lineup. But before getting into all of that, Pierce Arrow grew out of the Heinz, Pierce, and Munshiner Company, which dates back to 1865, founded in Buffalo, New York. The company made household items like ice boxes, but they were most famous for their gilded bird cages. In 1872, George N. Pierce would buy the other two out, and he would reorganize the company as the George N. Pierce Company. George N. Pierce would continue to build ice boxes, various furniture pieces, as well as gilded bird cages. He would add bicycles to the menu in 1896. Bicycles would evolve into motorcycles. Motorcycles would evolve into the automobile. Pierce Arrow's first car would come around 1900. David Ferguson, who worked for E.C. Stearns Company over in Syracuse, New York, would go to Buffalo to help George N. Pierce with his automobile endeavor. David Ferguson would be offered a job at Pierce Arrow as chief engineer, and he would stay with the company for 2 decades. The first Pierce Arrows were powered by de Leon engines, single-cylinder engines. Pierce Arrow's first car was the Motorette. Production began late 1901. Pierce Arrows would evolve into a luxury car manufacturer. It was one of the P's of prestige. Peerless and Packard were the other two. Pathfinder could be considered the silent P. In 1904, Pierce would offer their first 4-cylinder. In 1907, a 6-cylinder was added to the lineup. It's important to note that Pierce used huge displacement engines. The largest 6 they ever used was between the years of 1910 and 1918. It was 825 cubic inch displacement, or 13.5 liters. 1924 saw the first 4-wheel braking system with vacuum boost, but by 1924, Pierce Arrow was hurting bad. After years of mismanagement and clinging onto traditional styling, Pierce Arrow was still using that 6-cylinder engine as its flagship engine, and they wouldn't get an 8 until after 1929. In 1928, Studebaker of South Bend, Indiana took control of Pierce Arrow. Studebaker would run both companies as separate entities. A lot of people look down upon this era over at Pierce Arrow, but Studebaker, if it wasn't for Studebaker owning the company, Pierce Arrow would have never gotten the 8 or the V12. Both engines are hailed as being awesome. Both feature hydraulic lifters, which is a rare feature during the 30s. Also, under Studebaker's ownership, the flagship model, when you think of Pierce Arrow as the company, this is the model of car that you think of, if you know what this car is, the Silver Arrow. Without Studebaker's involvement, the Silver Arrow would have never came to be. Unfortunately, only 5 Silver Arrows were ever built, and they came with a price tag of $10,000 each, which in 1933, when the cars were produced, was an insane amount of money. $10,000 in 1933 would be equivalent to you spending $249,212.31 in the year 2025. Also in 1933, Pierce Arrow would get their second wind when Studebaker was forced into receivership and had to sell Pierce Arrow. A group of Buffalo investors would buy Pierce Arrow for $1 million, despite having new management and 2 all-new, highly sophisticated for the time engines, the 8 and V12, Pierce Arrow struggled the following years as the effects of the Great Depression worsened. The luxury car market began to evaporate to the point that by the end of the decade, coach-built cars were pretty much a thing of the past, with a few exceptions that go past the Second World War. Pierce Arrow production would trickle in. 1935, it was 875 units. By 1936, that number was down to 787, to just 167 units in 1937. Pierce Arrow would have a Hail Mary of sorts, but they did not want to water down their brand. Packard watered down their brand with introducing lower priced models, but Pierce Arrow did not want to do that to their image. So their Hail Mary came in the form of travel trailers called travel lodges. They were available in 3 sizes. Model A was 19 feet long, Model B was 16.5 feet long, and the smallest model was called Model C, and it was 13.5 feet long. They were nice. This was camping with class. But despite the looks and it being quaint inside, it wasn't enough to stop the inevitable. Pierce Arrow would flounder in 1938 after building some 85,790 cars between the years of 1901 through 1938. Pierce Arrow was forced to liquidate, and during the receivership sale, Seagrave would buy the tooling rights to both the Pierce Arrow 8 and the V12, which would live on in Seagrave fire trucks. 1936 Pierce Arrow model lineup was offered in 2 models on 2 different wheelbase offerings between those 2 models. You had the Deluxe 8 and the Salon 12. Both models were offered with your choice of 139 inches in the wheelbase or 144 inches in the wheelbase. Cars that ride the 139-inch wheelbase include, but not limited to, Coupe, Roadster, Club Sedan, 5-passenger sedan, which our car is, and Club Berline. The 144-inch wheelbase chassis could be had in body styles that included, but not limited to, 7-passenger sedan, limousine, metropolitan town car, which is a really cool looking body choice, and convertible sedan. Let's talk specs. It rides a wheelbase of 139 inches. It weighs around 6,000 pounds. Price, $3,196, which would be equivalent to you spending $74,491.17 in the year 2025. Total 1936 Pierce Arrow production was 787 units. Moving on to engine. Only one engine on offer for this car, 385 cubic inches displacement, flathead inline 8, 6.3 liters. It was good for 150 horsepower around 3,200 RPM. Estimated 250 pound-feet or 338 newton meters around 1,800 RPM with a bore of 3.69 inches and a stroke of 4.75 inches. 9 main bearings. This video is presented in partnership with the Classic Car Club of America Educational Foundation to explore more about the full classics like this magnificent Pierce Arrow and access a wealth of resources. Visit the cccaeducationalfoundation.org. There you will find a virtual library, service, manuals, photos, videos, event information, and so much more. If you're interested in joining the Classic Car Club of America, you'll also find direct links on the site to enroll to become a member today, which will be linked in the description, so be sure to check that out after the show. Before talking about styling, since we have both these cars here, I just want you guys to see the size comparison and difference between a 1936 Pierce Arrow and a 1940 Packard. I mean, just look at how much difference there is in size and scale. Let's talk styling on this absolutely gorgeous car, starting with the bumper. Notice over here, the bumper is pretty much flush, and then there becomes a little bit of a line, and it goes up towards this peak there. It's super cool. And then all of this detail in the center. The bumpers are attached to the car right here. It's got a front license plate bracket right there. Look Look at all of this trim going up towards the fog light, which is mounted to the radiator shroud. And then the big headlights are inside the fender itself. Pierce Arrow was the first company to design headlights into the fenders. Bright bezel around. Also notice how far this headlight protrudes. It's all circular in the front. Beautiful thermostatically controlled grille going down towards the Pierce Arrow crest at the bottom. The mascot is up on top of this pedestal, but notice that the pedestal looks like an arrow when you look down. This nice pad, and then butterfly hinged hood. The hinge hides underneath this trim piece, which goes back towards the single piece windshield with windshield wipers that come together. Also notice the grille, how it slants back. The fenders are just rolled. It's got these beautiful Art Deco artillery wheels with all of this intricate pinstriping. Pierce. The easiest way to tell if it's a 12 or an 8 is the hubcap will say if it's a 12 or an 8. This car has an 8. It's got beautiful bright trim at the bottom, and then it starts here at the fender, and then it goes down into the running board before stopping at the rear fender. Just look at all of this nice. These are louvers. You can open these if you want to let heat come out. All this beautiful pinstriping work here. This car has a huge single cowl vent in center. Beautiful bright trim around the windshield. This car does not have side mirrors. Usually they're mounted to the case or they'd be mounted to the door. But this one doesn't have that. Check out the embossed section here, how it goes up. It actually parts. Part of it goes down the side. The other part goes up here. This car also does not have drip rails. It just has this embossed part that protrudes. This car also has the rubber chicken wire top center. It's not a full steel roof. Very nice Art Deco door handles. The running boards are huge. At these beads. This is a size 12 shoe in the front. Barely fits on there. And then it tapers in the back. Same size 12 shoe, but in the back. Notice the door hinges are exposed with bright and body painted parts. So it's got 2 sets of hinges for both doors. Just look at all of the sculpting. Super, super cool. Gas fillers on the driver's side. The rear bumpers mimic the bumpers in the front. Got this nice Pierce Arrow crest there. Single piece of back glass in the back. Notice it's not split, so it works just like the windshield in the front. Has this pressed in look. Man, this door has a nice quality feel about it. Check out the window situation. It's pretty much split right in the center. Huge vent window, which is crank operated. Door handle to get out, armrest. Beautiful cloth material on the door. Feels very rich. Very rich feeling material. Coming down inside the pedal box down here, you have the handbrake, which is really cool. There is your clutch, brake, gas pedal. Let's take a gander at this interior. Here is what over the hood would look like. Here's what first person over the hood would look like. Up above, you have sun visors with this accessory mirror, so you can see what I look like there. There's also a speaker up there for the radio, rear view mirror and center. There's another sun visor over here for the passenger that has their own accessory mirror attached to it. On to the button switches and knobs, starting with the 120 mile per hour speedometer with odometer and trip odometer just below the needle. This one's got turn signal indicators with hazard lights. There's a green light and a red light. This gauge over here has all of the engine vitals. You got fuel. You got gasoline gauge at the top, oil pressure, amp meter, coolant temperature. There's an ashtray over there. There's a clock right there. Got hand throttle. This is your actual dashboard light. This, I think that's for starter. I think that's what S is for. Lights. Radio in the center. Windshield wipers. Key. I'm not sure what P stands for. And lighter. So just like the front door, it does not have an armrest on the door panel itself, but has this nice wood inlay. Door handle to get out, window crank for the big window. Just take a look at this interior back here. You got the robe rail to hang a blanket on in the winter time if you get cold. Right here, you have a clock so you can see what time it is for the rear passengers. There is a footrest right here, fully adjustable. Here is what the front looks like from the back. Let's take a quick gander at the greenhouse or the pillar to glass ratio in this car. This is what visibility looks like out the back from the back seat. Let's talk creature comforts. This seat is super comfortable. The bench is rather wide, but with all of that said, because it's a really, really large, stately car, there's absolutely no interference with my knee to this back of the seat. There's plenty of room up here for activities. If you wanted to put luggage or anything, there's lots of space right there. The seat material is a really nice material. The seat back is reclined. Armrests on the chair itself back here. These windows back here also open. They're vent windows. They open up vent style. So how about that? That's really cool. There's also little shades that come out of the roof. Super classy. There's a light back there. Handle to hold on to. I love the wood inlay that they put back here as well. There is an ashtray as well as cigarette lighter on the armrest. Everything found on the passenger side is also found on the driver's side. There's the armrest, ashtray, cigarette lighter package. Light. There's also a dome light in the center, right there. On the positive side, huge, stately car that just being around it makes you feel special. I got the experience of riding in this car, and it's been a couple of weeks since that's happened, and I still can't get it out of my head. It was an incredible experience. I've never been in a car like this. I got to drive the Packard the same day, 1940 Packard convertible sedan, and that car, when compared to this car, almost looks feeble in comparison. And there's nothing wrong with the Packard. It's just the Pierce Arrow is on a whole different level, a whole different spectrum, if you will. When you're in the Pierce Arrow driving down the road, you feel like you're the most important person on the road. You can also feel the power inside the car. You can feel the combination between the 6,000-pound car and the 150 horsepower engine, which I tell people this all the time. Big bore power and long stroke power are two totally different things. 150 horsepower doesn't sound like much, but it's long stroke power. The car was quiet inside with just the slightest bit of transmission noise, but there was always this light growl from the engine, and it's incredible. This car is absolutely incredible. When you do find the parts, they're usually really expensive. All right, now it's time for Would You Rather. Two scenarios today. This is not fair by any stretch of the imagination, but which one of these would you rather have? 1936 Cadillac V8 or 1936 Pierce Arrow 8 or 1936 Packard Super 8? I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. On to the second scenario, 1936 fully loaded Cord supercharged 810 or 1936 Pierce Arrow Deluxe 8 or 1936 Lincoln Model K. I'm going to leave this here for a minute. If you need more time, feel free, pause the video. Now it's time for Name That Tune. First person to get both the name of the band and the song title correctly in the comment section will have their comment pinned to the top of it. Thank you all so much for coming out and watching this one. If you'd like to get in touch with me, shoot me a comment in the comment section below. If you have a car in your personal collection that you would love to see featured on the channel, or if you have an engine episode or a car request, you can either put it in the comment section or shoot me an email at what_its_like@yahoo.com. Thanks for everything that you guys bring. I'm so stoked that this is a car community that I'm very much a part of. You guys are awesome for making all of this happen. Till next time, toodaloo! Welcome to the after show. This part of the video doesn't have any sound or commentary, but it gives you the opportunity to see the differences between the Pierce Arrow and the 1940 Packard and all of the lines and details associated with the Pierce Arrow. Enjoy.